I'm 102 years old. I've outlived my parents. I've outlived my wife. I've outlived my brothers, my rivals, my heroes. I've even outlived the version of myself who thought he had any clue what mattered. My name is Arthur Morgan, and I'm not speaking to you because I'm wise. I'm speaking to you because I ran out of time to pretend. I'm close enough to the end now that the future has finally shut up. It doesn't whisper promises anymore. It doesn't bargain. It doesn't say later. It just sits there, silent, like a door that's already open. Before I step through it, I need to turn back and talk to you, because I recognize the way you're living. You think you have time, not in a poetic way, in a practical way. You schedule your life as if it's renewable. You delay the important things like their emails you can answer tomorrow. You tell yourself you'll slow down later. You'll be kinder later. You'll live later. Later is the most expensive word you will ever use. You wake up each morning assuming the day belongs to you. You treat hours like loose change. You waste them, trade them, kill them, because you believe there's more where they came from. There isn't. You don't feel that yet. I know you don't. If you did, you wouldn't be so careless with your attention. You wouldn't be so casual with people you love. You wouldn't be living as if life were a rehearsal. Let me tell you about a man named Henry. It was 1974. Henry and I worked in the same building. He was brilliant, precise, the kind of man who always looked 10 years ahead. He had binders full of plans, retirement charts, investment models, a life mapped out in clean, confident lines. One afternoon, we sat in his office. He poured coffee into 2 paper cups and said, "Arthur, 5 more years, that's all. 5 years of sacrifice. Then I'm free. Free to travel, free to write, free to breathe." 3 weeks later, Henry didn't show up to work. Heart failure. Sudden. Clean. No warning. I stood at his funeral watching people talk about his potential, his discipline, his ambition. No one talked about his joy, because he kept postponing it. That's the trap. You don't refuse to live. You just keep rescheduling it. You tell yourself, when I have more money, when things calm down, when the kids are older, when the business stabilizes. You're not planning a life. You're negotiating with fear, and fear is never satisfied. You should understand something now while you still can. The world does not pause for your intentions. It doesn't care what you meant to do. It doesn't honor effort. It only records what actually happened. I've watched strong men die with full calendars. I've watched brilliant women disappear with unread books on their nightstands. I've watched people postpone happiness right up until the moment it became impossible. That's why I'm talking to you. Because I don't want you to confuse being busy with being alive. Let's talk about what you're chasing. You live in an age of accumulation. You measure success by weight and square footage. You trade your mornings for money, then trade the money for things that numb you from the mornings you gave away. You call it progress. I've lived long enough to see the end of that road. I live in one room now. A bed, a chair, a window. A photograph that matters more than everything I used to own combined. I once had property, vehicles, furniture chosen by magazines, closets full of clothes worn once. I thought ownership meant security. It doesn't. Everything you own is just something someone else will have to deal with when you're gone. Do you know what happens after you die? Your children, or strangers you've never met, will walk through your life with trash bags. They will make decisions about your precious things in minutes. Your collections, your trophies, your someday items. Most of it will disappear without ceremony. That doesn't mean possessions are evil. It means you made them too important. You sacrificed time for objects that cannot remember you, and time is the only thing that ever belonged to you. I know you're tired. I know you're stressed. I know you tell yourself you're doing this for your family. I told myself the same lie. Let me tell you what that lie costs. It costs you dinners you'll never replay. It costs you conversations you thought you'd have later. It costs you moments that quietly pass while you're staring at something that doesn't love you back. I once missed my daughter's question because I was answering an email. She never asked it again. That's how it happens. Not with drama, with small neglects that add up to a life you don't recognize. You think you'll notice when it matters. You won't. Life doesn't announce its last chances. Let me tell you about the proudest moment of my career. It was the early 1980s. I received an award. Big room. Applause. People shaking my hand like I had just won something permanent. I went home late that night. The house was dark. Everyone asleep. I sat alone with that award on the table and felt something hollow crack open in my chest. The applause was already gone. It always is. Achievements are loud and brief. Regret is quiet and permanent. You think your career defines you. It doesn't. It uses you. It rents you by the hour. And the moment you stop being useful, it forgets your name. If you vanish tomorrow, your position will be listed before your obituary is finished. That isn't bitterness. That's arithmetic. So stop worshiping things that cannot grieve you. If the money doesn't follow you, the titles don't remember you, and the objects don't mourn you, what does? I'll tell you what stays. The time you gave without expecting anything back. The moments you were fully present. The people who felt safe around you. When I sit here now, waiting, I don't replay my successes. I replay quiet mornings, shared laughter, apologies I'm grateful I didn't delay. That's the real inheritance. And here's the part most people never hear. You don't need to wait for loss to understand this. You don't need tragedy. You don't need a diagnosis. You don't need to be 102. You just need honesty. So I'm going to give you a simple truth, and I want you to sit with it before you scroll past it like everything else. You are not busy because life is demanding. You are busy because being busy lets you avoid asking harder questions. Are you living the life you actually want, or the life you fell into? Are you delaying joy out of discipline or out of fear? Are you present or just productive? You don't need motivation. You need courage. Courage to disappoint people who benefit from your exhaustion. Courage to choose depth over noise. Courage to stop rehearsing and start living while your body still listens to you. I don't have much time left, but you do. That's the difference between us, and it's everything. If this hit you, even a little, say something in the comments. Say where you're wasting time, or what you're finally ready to stop postponing. Don't be clever, be honest. If you're still here, it means something in you is awake. Don't ignore that. It doesn't knock often. I promised I'd tell you what to do with the time you have left. Not theories, not inspiration. Reality, clean and uncomfortable. First, kill the illusion that you are special in the way your fear tells you that you are. You think everyone is watching you, judging you, waiting for you to fail. That belief keeps you obedient, quiet, small. It's a lie. I've buried enough people to know this. No one is thinking about you as much as you are. They are trapped inside their own heads, fighting their own insecurities, replaying their own mistakes. You are not under surveillance. You are free. And freedom terrifies people more than prison. You don't start the business because you're afraid of embarrassment. You don't speak honestly because you're afraid of conflict. You don't change your life because you're afraid of being wrong. Let me tell you what happens if you are wrong. Nothing. You adjust. You learn. You continue. But if you never act, something worse happens. You calcify. You become someone who explains instead of lives. Someone who says, "I almost," and "I could have," until those phrases become your identity. At 102, I promise you this: regret is heavier than failure. Second, practice the last time. This sounds simple. It isn't. Every time you do something ordinary, tell yourself the truth. One day, this will be the final version of this moment. One day, you will hug your child for the last time and not know it. One day, you will hear a familiar voice and never hear it again. One day, you will sit in your favorite place and stand up, finished. You don't know when. That knowledge changes everything if you let it. You stop rushing conversations. You stop half listening. You stop treating people like they're permanent fixtures instead of temporary miracles. This isn't morbid. It's precise. When you understand that moments are numbered, you stop living on autopilot. You stop postponing affection. You stop assuming forgiveness can wait. Say what matters while mouths can still hear it. Third, stop numbing yourself. I don't care how you do it: scrolling, drinking, working, buying, arguing online. Numbness wears many costumes. You call it relaxation. It's sedation. You are anesthetizing the very thing you're afraid to lose: your aliveness. I look at your generation and I don't see laziness. I see exhaustion from constant stimulation. You never sit with silence long enough to hear yourself think. Turn something off. Go outside without a purpose. Sit with discomfort without reaching for distraction. Your answers are already inside you. You're just drowning them out. Fourth, forgive faster. Not because people deserve it. Most don't. Forgive because carrying resentment is like dragging a suitcase you didn't pack to a destination you won't reach. I've watched hatred age people faster than time ever could. You think anger protects you. It doesn't. It cages you. Say what needs to be said, or let it go. But stop rehearsing arguments with people who aren't even in the room. You don't have enough years left, no matter how young you are, to waste them on poison. Fifth, choose depth over approval. You are trained to perform, to curate, to be palatable. That's not living. That's marketing. Be disliked for who you are instead of tolerated for who you pretend to be. The wrong people leaving your life is not loss. It's room. I've never met anyone at the end of their life who wished they had been more impressive. I've met many who wished they had been more honest. Finally, start now. Not dramatically, not perfectly. Now means making the call today. Now means saying no where you've been lying. Now means acting before you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Read that again. Readiness is a myth invented by fear to buy itself more time. Life is not waiting for you to become confident. It's waiting for you to show up. You are alive. That is the qualification. I'm at the end of my road. I don't say that with sadness. I say it with clarity. I've seen enough to know what matters, and I've lost enough to know what doesn't. Most people don't fail at life. They postpone it until it expires. Don't do that. Eat the good food. Say the thing. Take the risk. Choose the day over the someday. And if this stirred something in you, don't be silent. Write it down in the comments. Tell me what you're done waiting for. Tell me what you're choosing now. Because the clock is running. And the worst thing you can do with a life is let it end without ever fully entering it.